Two debates down, one to go, and 29 days left before voters decide this race once and for all. The second showdown wasn't pretty. It didn't start out with a handshake, but somehow it ended up with one. Everything was on the table and on the line for Donald Trump after a tape released 48 hours prior to the debate nearly derailed his candidacy. Trump needed to turn things around quickly. Did he accomplish that? He faced questions about his hot mic moment right out of the gate. He apologized and then pivoted to Hillary Clinton's husband. Sorted past.
I'm very embarrassed by it. I hate it, but it's locker room talk, and it's one of those things. I will knock the hell out of ISIS. We're going to defeat ISIS. ISIS happened a number of years ago in a vacuum that was left because of bad judgment, and I will tell you, I will take care of ISIS.
What we all saw and heard on Friday was Donald talking about women. What he thinks about women, what he does to women, and he has said that the video doesn't represent who he is, but I think it's clear to anyone who heard it that it represents exactly who he is.
If you look at Bill Clinton, far worse, minor words, and his was action.
When I hear something like that, I am reminded of what my friend Michelle Obama advised us all. When they go low, you go high.
All right, Juan, do you think good response by Donald Trump, good apology, and then good response by Hillary? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, to me, the big news out of yesterday is Donald Trump lives to fight another day. I mean, Donald Trump, I thought going in, and, you know, I hold him to a very low bar, but it seems to me he got over the low bar, right? Okay. Did he, though, move the bar in terms of the election? No. I don't think he had much success in responding to the issue of the video. What he did have success in doing was putting on what looked to me like World Wrestling Association spectacular show. Megyn Kelly said at the start of the post-game last night, she said it was one of the low points, she thought, just dispiriting, depressing for Americans to have to see such a spectacle. Well, that's what I experienced. I just thought it was like, wow, this is what we've come to.
Yeah. Can I point out two fun things that happened?
Okay.
Because, boy, Juan just brought us all down.
I know.
All right. When he called her the devil, okay, that's the first time somebody literally demonized somebody. Like we always talk about on shows, they're always demonizing people. Stop demonizing people. He actually literally demonized her. That's the first time I've ever seen that on TV.
Can I guess the second thing?
What?
Was it when the fly landed on Hillary?
No, that's my one more thing.
Oh, it is?
Oh,
well, you know what I love?
alert.
I love the looming. When she's talking and Donald was behind her, it was like they were in line at the bank and he's in a rush.
He's
like he's in
get your card out.
Get your card out, and she's talking.
You fill out the deposit slip.
Exactly.
Lady.
She's like asking for a complimentary pen, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go." And it was just very funny. I
You
enjoyed
think
it.
it was like bullying?
No, I don't think he. I think he was just he's like a teenage boy. He doesn't know what to do when he's not doing anything.
No, I thought it was like he was, how would you say that, like prowling the set and making it very clear he was the dominant male.
I think he was making himself feel comfortable, which he needed to do something because everyone was like, you know, saying this is a disaster, he should drop out, all of that. To tell you the truth, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the debate, but I like this. I like politics. I like watching debates. I think that he had a huge hurdle to overcome, and I think he exceeded and outperformed expectations, and he was very measured in the first debate. He got after it in this debate, which is not easy to do when you've had that kind of tape and that kind of private moment out with the things that he said. I'm sure his wife, everybody else was not happy with him. He was losing some support, and, you know, he came up and he smashed it. You got to give credit where credit is due. I don't think you're ever going to say anything positive.
No,
He came close. I came close. He almost.
That
in Juan's world, that was positive.
No,
moved the bar.
I have a very low bar, and somehow Trump made it over the low bar.
Like a snail. Like a snail.
Overall view,
Well,
did this work out?
I think that she won the first half hour, he won the second half hour, and the third half hour was a draw. I also feel like both of them, once again, were trying to win their primary again, so like they solidified their bases, and he needed to, right? So in terms of what Juan is saying, like, did that give some Republicans hope? I do think he threw away any pretense of civility because he said, like, I'm just going to throw it all out there. What did I say last night? I didn't even know if it was right. I wish you guys would have been with me. I was here alone in the studio last night. Like, it was weird. There was nobody else here, and it was about 11 o'clock, and I wanted to use something, a poker reference, I think, or a gambling one, but you put it all on red.
All in.
And let it ride? Do you
put
say
on.
let it ride?
That's roulette.
I said that. I wasn't sure if it was correct. But that was one of the things he wanted to do. So he really needed to change the subject, change the headline. And he had succeeded in doing that for about 4 hours. And then this morning, we actually have Republican National Committee officials. We have a United States Senator who is actually, now they're trying to explain what sexual assault is or is not, and this has been dominating their headlines all day, plus there's lots more to come in this show. So I think that, sure, he had a much better debate than the first one, but does it change anything for the trajectory of the race? Probably not.
All right, let's move on to this next heated exchange. It was Hillary Clinton's turn to have her feet held to the fire. Here's how she tried to explain her now infamous deplorables insult.
Within hours, I said that I was sorry about the way I talked about that, because my argument is not with his supporters. It's with him and with the hateful and divisive campaign that he has run.
We have a divided nation because people like her, and believe me, she has tremendous hate in her heart. And when she said deplorables, she meant it. And when she said irredeemable, they're irredeemable. You didn't mention that. But when she said they're irredeemable, to me, that might have been even worse.
All right, a little boxing reference, Dana. Gloves came off last night.
Oh, I know that one. I think that his supporters really wanted to see him stick it to her, right? In the primary, he would say during those debates, I am the one who can take it to Hillary Clinton. I will be the one that stands up to her. I'm going to be the one to call her the devil and say she has hate in her heart. Again, winning that primary over and over again, I just don't know if that gets you to the next step. In fact, I'm pretty sure it does.
Primary tactics.
You know, it's interesting when this is occurring how she just smiles. And I think it was like, here's another sports metaphor. She was like so far ahead, she just held on to the ball and just was hoping to run out the clock. And if she didn't win, it didn't matter because she knew at the end of the day it was going to be, I said end of the day, sorry.
And Price.
That she would be so far ahead, it didn't matter. And so she just kind of let him go and just waited it out. But when I look at this, this is team sport politics at its worst. If you were a if Trump were a Dem, we would be going at him like crazy.
Yep.
If she were a Republican, the Dems would be going after her. They both have serious flaws that both sides would condemn, but they happen to be on your side.
Right.
So this is the perfect example right there of team sports. He's calling her names, she's calling him names.
But Greg, I'm not the one to say this, but what I see is Republicans, it's the Republican so-called establishment, in turmoil over Donald Trump. That's the same team.
Yeah.
And you see the party just divided. And yesterday, when he had the pre-debate meeting with the 4 women who charged sexual misbehavior on the part of Bill Clinton, man, I'm telling you, I mean, and then Frank Fahrenkopf, who was chair of the party, had to stop Trump from putting those 4 women in the family seating section. That's Republican.
VIP seating. Let's be accurate.
It was. I thought it was family
was
seating, but it's the
because Hillary had Senator McCaskill in there, and she couldn't then go into that either.
It's a pretty big difference, in my opinion. But
well,
my point to you is
that
you have Republicans here in an intramural kind of fratricidal moment, and then today, what we heard from Paul Ryan, what we see going on in terms of some of the people that Dana's talking about, saying, you know, I can't back this guy.
Well, you know, Bill O'Reilly said it this morning. He said this is a lot of Republicans who stick their, wet their finger and stick and figure out which direction the wind is blowing, and they'll either be behind him if it's blowing in his direction and fall out.
I don't think that's the case, Eric. That's really, I think that's wrong. There are a lot of people that are sticking to principles, that were ideological conservatives who sat there and said this guy was not for us, and because they're not fair weather friends. Kasich, he never went there. There's a lot of people that didn't go there.
But those are people who never got in line.
Yeah.
We're talking about the people who weren't in line.
But you were one of the people that were telling him, get behind, you better get in line now. You better get in line now. They're leaving.
I honestly think that that if you want a GOP in the White House, you're going to have to get behind them. You're going to have to. The abortion is going to come to the Supreme Court level in the next 4 or 8 years. Gun laws are going to come up at the Supreme Court level in the next 4 years.
That's the most persuasive argument of the Supreme Court.
Immigration is going to come to the Supreme Court in the next 4 or 8 years. If you have Hillary Clinton, we already know the list of Donald Trump's Supreme Court nominees is conservative.
Then we should have nominated an electable candidate.
It's too late, Greg. It's too late.
It is too late. No, you're right.
It's
too late. Hillary's
Clinton
president.
or
a
Trump.
month.
All right, KG, you want to weigh in on this one before we move
Yeah,
on?
I mean, I think people like Paul Ryan and other individuals, before he got super involved in making comments about this race, like Mitt Romney, and it's not their style. They're not the kind of candidate that, Donald Trump is. So I don't think that Paul Ryan was ever super comfortable with this, and his message is strong and clear, like, I'm going to go do all the events and the fundraising and go out to my constituents, and the message to the rest of them is do what you need to do for your district to retain your seat or win your seat. So I think that's a very specific, focused message. So, and then Trump, who's happy, I think, many times to kind of be on his own and beat to his own drum, is going to do what he does best. So to me, last night was no surprise. Like, they were hitting him hard. Obviously, those are Clinton supporters leaking the stuff on, maybe more to come, et cetera, et cetera. So this is not shocking to anybody. I never expected he wasn't going to go out there last night and try to, like, crush it and punch back hard, because he was criticized widely for not doing so. And what Dana makes the point, I think, is important, that this is what his supporters want, the people out there. And there's also been people waiting for someone to come and hit hard on the Clintons and talk about this stuff that are in his group. They were like, aha, that's what we were waiting for. So that group is always going to be all in on him, no matter what other tapes or anything else comes out. I think that is like, they're glued into him, not even just baked in.
You know what the problem is for me, is that the criticism of Hillary is so valid. The fact that a feminist smeared victims of sexual assault is unbelievable, that her side doesn't hold her feet to the fire about what she did to those women. The problem also is Trump isn't the right messenger for that, because he called Bill's accusers terrible. He called them unattractive. He called Paula Jones a loser. And so now we're supposed to say, good job, now that you're running for president.
No one says say good job. Or a lot of people, no one at this table has said good job about some of the things that he said. What I'm saying, and maybe other people, what I'm saying is not good job. Not as conservative as you'd want. But the alternative right now is definitely what we don't want, or what I would not want for the country, my son and my family.
I would argue that if Hillary is, the key is to hold on to the House and the Senate at this point, because I don't see Trump winning. A compromised, damaged Hillary Clinton, which she is, you can control.
Fair enough. One more. This topic was blowing up my Twitter feed last night. The debate moderators were working against the Republican nominee, ? Donald Trump thought so.
She campaigned where the primary part of her campaign.
I want to get to audience questions and online questions.
So she's allowed to do that, but I'm not allowed to respond.
You're going to get to respond right now.
That sounds fair. Hillary Clinton wants to allow.
And why did it morph into that? No, answer the question.
Why don't
you still believe?
Her? You
I
interrupt
do.
me all the time. Why don't you interrupt her? I'd like to know, Anderson, why aren't you bringing up the emails? I'd like to know. Why aren't you getting
brought up
to the bottom?
emails.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. And it hasn't been finished at all.
Ken Karpowitz has a question.
It's nice to 1-on-3.
At some point, it was literally, for me, like the moderators were debating Trump, and Hillary Clinton, as Greg points out, I was kind of sitting back with a smile. But thankfully, that's not going to happen at the next debate on the 19th, because that moderator is fair and balanced. Fox News Sunday anchor Chris Wallace. We'll bring it around.
Oh, we should have him join us as a guest.
KG, one of the things that you pointed out to me this morning was this red line comment that Hillary said she wasn't Secretary of State when the red line was drawn. But she was, wasn't she?
Yeah, a little bit of confusion there. I don't know, a fog of war situation, like was I, wasn't I? So people seized on it. But there were so many moving parts last night, so much going on, that it's like after you go through and you can analyze it and then figure out what exactly was said, what mistakes were made, what fact check points, because it was kind of super packed in, chock full of nuts.
Now, where was the fact check on that one? There was plenty of fact checking Trump on some of the things he was saying.
There's lots of
like
fact
Cooper
checking
and
on
Radish,
that,
but
I mean, the question was,
fact?
when exactly did the president make this commitment, or when did the Congress? Well, okay,
2012.
but you know what? It doesn't.
He drew the line in 2012 as she was Secretary of State.
No, but I think the fact checkers last night were all about Pence, because Trump threw Pence under the bus on the Syria question, right?
That's a hard.
No, but I'm just saying it's the same issue, but I think it's very different when you can see something in explicit terms. I mean, you know, he even said, I think Trump even said that he thought Putin and Iran were about defeating ISIS. And I'm like, what?
Can I bring Dana in here? Mitt Romney didn't push back on Candy Crowley when she made that comment about Benghazi. Donald Trump really didn't push back on her when she said, I wasn't there at the time of the red line.
Well, I think that I actually think that the timing just in a debate like that in a live format, it might just have been confusing at the time. We know that she was there at the time because she writes about it in her book and about how she had actually said that her position was to go ahead and bomb Assad's base and the airplane so that he could not do the things that he ended up doing. And she was willing to look at arming the rebels. So she actually writes that in her book. She is not successful and persuasive. Neither was Panetta or Gates or the rest of the national security team, because Obama and Biden decided to go their own way. And then that's when Kerry took over. So I think Trump was right not to try to touch that in terms of a timing perspective, because it was right on the line.
You know what the other thing, not the moderators, but the idea of the undecided. I really didn't see a lot of undecided people there. I mean, do you believe a person is undecided when they bring up Islamophobia to Donald Trump? Do you really think that person's on the fence for Donald? I don't think so. I think there was a little bit of hand picking going on there.
All right, we're going to leave it right there.